That's going to be a new untapped market. It's going to be a crazy opportunity like nobody has seen before.
A market disrupting development years in the making is finally becoming a reality.
At a minimum, 250,000 rides a week, and that number is only growing.
But the Robotaxi revolution is just getting started.
Now, this might be a 10x opportunity over the next 5 years.
MarketBeat's Gabriel Ossorio Mazzilli dives into which company is winning this race, who's lagging behind, and offers another way to invest in this new industry.
The winner in this gold rush of autonomous driving is going to be the shovel. And who's the shovel?
Could this company be the key to getting in on this rapid 10x potential? Let's dive in. Gabriel, so glad to have you back on the channel today, talking about an industry that's making headlines all the time now, and that's robo-taxis. I think the question everyone's had is how soon is it going to take to get this profitable? We're going to dive into the race to get this really to a commercial level. But first, before we get into the names of the companies you want to talk about, let's just talk about this industry. How soon are we talking about actually having robo-taxis as a reality?
Well, this is one of those disruptive areas of the market, right? Where an industry like travel, like medicine, like everything else suddenly sees an injection of technology, and then out of nowhere, it's unrecognizable, right? So the way that we knew taxis and ride-hailing before has been changed by companies like Uber, right? But then some other names are looking to take this into the next step, removing the middleman completely. Just get in a car, relax, and enjoy the ride to your destination. Now, this might be a 10x opportunity over the next 5 years, according to some forecasts. And as bullish as that sounds, as bullish and optimistic as that may be to investors, I think that is more based on a reality that is quietly already happening today.
Yeah, and that's going to get us right into who is winning this race. The technology has been being developed over the last couple of years. We've been talking about this for a few years as investors. It's one of the topics covered in our special report on Elon Musk's next move, sharing how investors can get into this industry and more of Elon's research endeavors. You can scan the QR code now or click the link that's in the video description to get that free report on MarketBeat.com. So yes, we have been talking about this for a while, but now it's actually here. So let's get into these companies that are kind of the leaders in this field and who might be winning the race to actually commercialize robotaxis.
Yeah, and what a race it is, right? And I think that the two most important names in this one are going to be Alphabet and Tesla. So as you may know, the term robotaxi has been coined by Tesla over the past 2 or 3 years. However, investors have been somewhat disappointed by the amount of time it has taken for the robotaxi concept to become a reality. So I think that has been a headwind in the Tesla stock recently, but Elon Musk, the CEO, has recently mentioned that he expects over 1 million robotaxis to be fully functional by the second quarter of next year. That is in the future. That is a forecast. That is an ideal. Some might call it a fantasy, but if you have faith in Elon Musk and everything he's accomplished, that might actually become a reality. But if you fast forward into something that might already be happening today, that's something that's gotten past the proof of concept, you could look at Alphabet, right? So Alphabet owns a company called Waymo, and Waymo has taken this autonomous driving, this robotaxi concept, and already been implementing it over a couple of states in the US, gotten past regulation, gotten past, like I said, the proof of concept and adaptability in a new market, because nobody else is doing this right now. Google, or Alphabet, is the one that's leading the way in terms of numbers, in terms of growth and adoption as well. Not to mention the different technology that they implement as well.
Yeah, let's talk about Waymo a little bit, because like you said, the biggest standout here, the difference between the two, Tesla might have introduced the concept, but Waymo is the first one to actually make it happen. This is happening right now. Talk about how often Waymo is actually getting out these robotaxi rides and where it's happening.
Well, think of it as 250,000 rides per week happening right now. And that number is only looking to grow. As I said, the adoption rate, the proof of concept is out the way, so people feel safer as word of mouth spreads. Just imagine a relative or a friend comes home in a Waymo and you see them getting out with no driver. You're gonna think that, okay, maybe I should try this next. Now the thing that investors need to look out for is scalability. How is this company going to scale up its way to become as big a name as an Uber or an Airbnb, right? The fact that Waymo is under the umbrella of Alphabet, it's gotten the funding, it's gotten the resources, and it's gotten the technology needed to make this happen. So that forecast for a 10x in the overall industry over the next 5 years, I think is going to really help the company that's already positioned in this market, and that's Waymo. So I think that while Tesla might get there eventually, at the core of it all is a difference in technology that's being implemented in these rides. So while Tesla uses radar technology, Waymo is going to implement, or is already implementing, laser technology. So when it comes to the road, you need to be aware of everything that's around you, even at night, even when it's raining, even when there are obstacles on the way. And I think that the laser technology that Waymo is implementing has already proven to be superior and better adopted, right, by the market compared to radar. So I think it's pretty clear who's winning the race so far in the numbers, in the technology, and in the way that it's been growing so far.
Yeah, I want to get back to the proof of concept that Waymo, which is of course owned by Alphabet, these two names are very much tied together. Look at the success they've had already. The proof of concept is out there. What has the consumer reaction and review been like? I think that's what everyone's been waiting for in this industry. Are people going to accept it? Will the consumers like it? Will they accept these, driverless vehicles, picking them up and dropping them off? What has the reaction been so far, Gabriel?
Well, I think it has been overall positive. If you go on Twitter, if you go on YouTube, if you go on any social media platform and look up the name Waymo, you're going to see all those cool ads and cool, perhaps user-generated content, right, as far as marketing goes. But it's all been overall positive. There hasn't been any reported accidents so far, or any reported mistakes made by the autonomous driver. So I think that the adoption, the reaction, and the technology are all fitting in way past that proof of concept phase, which might have been, a couple dozen thousand rides, but at this point, Waymo has crossed the 3 million mark in total rides. And again, it's looking to do at a minimum 250,000 rides a week, and that number is only growing as regulation also steps in the way in states like California, New York, and others that might allow Waymo to break into those markets as well.
Yeah, do you know where Waymo is operating right now?
Yeah, it's mostly Texas, Arizona, and it's now breaking into California as well. And, when those regulators start looking at the safety, start looking at the statistics made in those states, it's only a matter of time before other states adopt it as a national rule. It's like driving in the highway. You could ride in a highway in Florida, you could ride it in California, Texas, and it's going to be pretty much the same law and the same rules. That is essentially the one thing standing in between Waymo's hyperbolic growth and where it is today. So these things, they happen slowly and then all at once when it comes time to break in those ceilings. So I think, the way that Waymo is operating right now, make no mistake, it's going to go through the roof in a matter of time.
I think it's good that we started off with this talk about the technology before we get into how investors can benefit from this and actually make a profit in this industry. I think it's important to believe in the proof of concept and the tech to know that this is actually a viable option for future growth. I'd love to hear in the comments, if you're in one of the markets where Waymo is operating, what do you think? Has it been a really successful ride? Do you think that this has huge potential for mass commercialization across the US, across the world? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. But now let's get to what this means for investors and how they can invest and profit in this industry. I think my first question is it too late? Since Waymo is already operating right now, Tesla's working towards that right now. Is it still the early stage of investing in this? And Alphabet's already such a huge company. Can you really invest in such a small portion of a giant company?
Well, of course you can. You got to think about the news cycle right now. So the name Waymo wasn't around as much as it is right now. That means that everybody is ready at this point to start floating around the name and start floating around the opportunity that Waymo represents. And while you're right, it does represent a small percentage of the overall Alphabet empire. I think that the ways that it can grow and the ways that it can add value to the company, you have to keep in mind that Google's price, right, Alphabet's stock price, hasn't been reflective of the underlying growth rates and what the company does represent. And I think that part of it is, of course, the tariff volatility that's happening in the market right now, but also that the name Robotaxi. What do you think of it when that comes to mind? And, most people would say the disappointing quarters and the disappointing missed quotas that Tesla has had when it comes to robo-taxis. That has been a promise for over a year that hasn't been delivered. So maybe when people think autonomous driving, they might be mistakenly associating Waymo with the delays in the Tesla robo-taxi without even realizing that Waymo has already gone past, like we said, the proof of concept and entering different markets. So I think that, sure, while Waymo is not going to be as big as the Alphabet online empire, you have to think of a company like Uber. See how big Uber is. See how much of a premium its valuation metrics command, and how much of that could be translated into the way Waymo could be valued as part of Google. I think that having the backing of Alphabet behind it might call an even bigger premium, even if it trades similarly to Uber. So I don't know, it might be a couple dozen points on the overall Google stock. It might be more. It might be depending on how popular it becomes, or even if it spins off eventually. So the opportunity is still very, very young. And I think the upside is still untapped as it is today.
That's a good point, that there is a large potential in this new market, and we don't know how big it could be. But if Google is too high of a premium for investors out there, and you're looking for another way to invest in this emerging sector, you just mentioned another safe pick that you could choose as an investor to invest in autonomous driving taxis. And that's Uber. Talk a little bit about how investors could benefit by investing in Uber for this overall industry.
Sure. So the way I would think about it is you could either play the leader, which is Alphabet in this robotaxi or autonomous driving space, or you could play catch up with Tesla. But at the end of the day, you might be thinking along the lines of, am I too late for Google? Should I wait for a dip? Or am I too early for Tesla? Should I wait for a further dip there? I think that if you extrapolate this trend, right, eventually when the robotaxi concept is proved, when other states adopt Waymo, both companies have talked about a concept of monetization which involves Uber. So as a matter of fact, Uber and Alphabet have been in talks to implement each other's platforms and offer both a human-driven ride on the platform for Uber, but also if a Waymo is available and it's not only faster or cheaper, the user is going to have the choice to pick between the traditional Uber or the new Waymo Uber. So I think that is going to be a massive growth catalyst for Uber that has gone past growth, right? Uber has gone through its growth stage, has gotten tremendous and fantastic free cash flow numbers, ROIC compounding on its own value, and has rewarded investors accordingly. But now everyone might be looking around to Uber and saying, what's next, right? What could come next for the company, bringing us further growth back to the good old days of double and even triple digit growth in the financials? And I think that combination with Waymo might be one of them. Going back to Tesla, right? If Tesla does figure out its robotaxi model, it does break through, it does get past proof of concept and regulations, Elon Musk has also said that any Tesla owner is going to have the opportunity to monetize its car, its vehicle, while it's not in use. So he even said it. Think of it like an Airbnb. Any spare room, you could monetize it. It's not being used. So if you're not going to use your car for the weekend, you might as well just list it on the platform and monetize it through rides. But who's going to list those rides? That's Uber. So if you think about it, the winner in this gold rush of autonomous driving is going to be the shovel. And who's the shovel? Uber. So when you look at it that way, I don't think you can lose when it comes to this tremendous opportunity in Uber stock moving forward.
I think that's some solid advice for how to invest in this sector that you said is estimated to have 10x potential in just 5 years. It's a huge growth opportunity for investors, but knowing where to invest to truly make the most of this growth industry is the important part. And I think Uber's a good step. I don't want to miss out on potentially mentioning Lyft. Do you think Lyft will get any part of this business as well?
It very well could. I think it's too early to tell, but this great opportunity that we have in our hands of, as we know, 10x growth over the next 5 years. I think if Uber wins, there's going to be more competition coming in, and that's where a company like Lyft could come into play. Now, I think it'll all depend on scalability, economies of scale, and pricing dynamics, right? Just like Uber broke the model and then Lyft came through and started competing, we might see that as well when it comes to autonomous driving. And keep in mind, right now we only know Uber and Lyft, but what if a new name comes in the direct competition with autonomous driving only? And all the technology that might come after. That's going to be a new untapped market.
Getting back to Uber, I know you said they've had a really solid year and they have 130% growth over the past year, but today they're on a little bit of a pullback right now. Do you think it's a good time for investors to look at getting into Uber if they believe that this autonomous driving, Robotaxis, Waymo partnership could impact the stock?
Of course, it's a great time as long as the valuation makes sense. But what is valuation, right? Valuation is essentially what you're willing to pay today for tomorrow's growth rate. And all of these growth rates aren't anywhere priced into the stock today, nor are they being reflected in a Wall Street earning forecast, because honestly, nobody knows what the impact will be yet. So that's where the qualitative aspect of investing, or sort of the art, so to speak, comes into play. So when you look at Uber's financials by itself as it stands today, I think the compounding free cash flow, the compounding returns on invested capital, the high margins, the high market share, a dominant position, I think it represents a great opportunity today, especially if you believe that the numbers are going to look all that much better when it comes to the implementation of Waymo and eventually the Robotaxi initiative by Tesla.
I want to end the video today with a final question, and that's, I don't want to ignore the potential of investing in Tesla. We all know Tesla's had a really rough year in the market, but do you think that there's enough possibility if, Elon's prediction about how much they could be making and producing these robo-taxis in the future for Tesla to see a big swing maybe a year or two down the road once this robo-taxi promise is actually fulfilled?
Well, of course, when you look at Tesla, like I said before, it might be the catch-up play to where Google ends up trading, right? Or where Waymo ends up growing. And the way that Elon Musk has said it, he expects over 1 million autonomous driving robo-taxis, essentially, over the next year and a half. So as of today, Tesla has been testing a prototype of that technology through the SFD, is the self full driving mode, right? So that has gone into a subscription-based model, and I think that it could really, really help the margins. It could really, really help the bottom line earnings when it comes to Tesla. And of course, where that goes, the stock price is going to follow essentially. So when you look at Tesla, and the fact that Elon Musk has now stepped away from government roles through Doge and everything else, his focus is now back on making this prediction happen, on making the 1 million autonomous driving vehicles happen over the next year and a half. So I think that just like Uber, if you believe that the growth is going to be there for the next year or 2 years, then of course that is not anywhere close to being priced into today's forecast for earnings or even today's valuation of the stock. More than that, investors could look at the qualitative aspect of what robotaxis and autonomous driving mean. When it stops being synonymous with delays and unfulfilled promises, I think that the hype is going to start coming into the news cycle, coming into the animal spirits, so to speak, in the market, and then you might as well see Tesla catch up or even overtake the initiative that Waymo has taken right now.
Well, thank you so much for diving into the Robotaxi race and what this industry could mean for the future and what it means for investors. Appreciate your time, Gabriel, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as well in the comments. How are you investing in robotaxis? Do you think Uber is the safest play, or are you looking at other ways to invest in this potential 10x opportunity over the next 5 years? Thanks again for joining us, everyone, and as always, happy investing.